Welcome to Unmasking Social, where we talk about building real friendships and meaningful connections without masking who we truly are. I'm your host, Sharon Baum, a speech and language pathologist with an expertise in social thinking and how it relates to autism and ADHD, specifically with our teens and tweens. Let's dive in. Imagine spending 6 full days in a summer camp where all you do is socialize and interact with others while also maintaining boundaries of when you don't feel like being social. Well, today we have a guest, Renee Attaway Storer, who not only has worked diligently on the social curriculum through collaborations with social thinking as well as in the parish in Houston, but has also decided that, hey, we need a social camp, Camp Social. Today we're going to be discussing how a camp like this can really inspire and motivate our youth to stay social on their own terms, as always. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Unmasking Social. Today we have a very special guest, a fellow speech and language pathologist who specializes in social thinking, Renee Attaway Storer. Yes. Who actually also, as I've had on prior episodes, is involved with the social thinking curriculum and has a lot of knowledge that she shares in the social collab that is training individuals in social thinking in different schools. She is a consultant, a social learning consultant at the Parish School and director and founder of Camp Social, which we're going to really take a deep dive into because there aren't many camps like this, which is an overnight camp for children and teens with social cognitive differences. Renee has a passion for working with social learners to teach social competencies, and she's also still at the Parish School. She really honed in on her skills in working with language and learning differences, also at a private practice. After years of working in the classroom, she founded the social learning at the Parish School, and this is a program that's supported by the one and only social thinking across the curriculum that changed my life, as I've spoken on many episodes, and offers individual and group social cognitive therapy to children from preschool to high school in the Houston community. Yes. Renee has worked at the Parish School for 25 years in various positions. In addition to her other work, Renee has also worked as social learning coordinator at a transition to adult program while helping young adults understand and navigate the complex procedures of employment, transitions to adulthood. She supervised at the University of Houston and developed their Cougar Communication Groups, a summer group therapy program supported public school speech pathology graduates and you have supported many graduate students as well. Love that. The mentoring. It's always been so much fun. Yeah. Since attending her first conference in 2004, Renee has been a passionate supporter of social thinking. She's been a speaker for social thinking and a member of the Social Thinking Speaker and Training Collaborative since 2012. Yes. Renee is a very enthusiastic speaker, which is why she's joining me here on the podcast to have a conversation. I'm sharing her own clinical experiences with individuals across North America. And Renee, my favorite part, has her own very Brady bunch, her husband, her 2 children, her 3 bonus children, and 2 insane dogs. Yes. She loves to read, practice yoga, paint, and travel. So, Renee, you have a lot going on.
Way too much, maybe, but it's all fun.
Yeah, all fun things, but you seem calm. You're keeping it together despite everything that's going on in your life on the sidelines. All good things, all great things. But I'd love to just hear from you, Renee, if we could just get straight into it. First of all, thank you for being here.
Of course, I'm so excited.
It's always great to have a fellow speech and language pathologist who really understands social. Yeah. But you've worked for so many years at the Parish School and in Houston, and you've integrated so many social, emotional, and social cognitive skills into your programming.
Yeah.
And so how did this happen where you started thinking more about social and then also eventually founding the social camp?
Yeah. So I actually was very lucky to find the Parish School in graduate school. I actually did my externship there and then started my first job at the Parish School. And the Parish School, for those of you who don't know, is a school started by a speech pathologist about over 40 years ago. And it is a school for people with communication delays or learning differences. And so as a very young clinician, I started teaching in an early childhood classroom as a speech pathologist. I had absolutely no skills to manage a classroom, but we figured it out. And I found within that first few years that the thing I was most passionate about was social, and especially social emotional learning. I'm going to age myself, but it was the early 2000s and nothing
Oh, that's not a long
existed
time
for
ago.
those goals. And so it was pretty much like turn taking and eye contact. And so I had a friend tell me about Michelle Garcia Winter, and I went to a conference and fell passionately in love with the curriculum and with the methodology and with Michelle's work. And so really I just began learning, and I was still working at the Parish School as a teacher. I was trying out the curriculum and the methodology and bringing in the concepts into my classroom. I started a social group like immediately, and really started working with that program, just practicing, I think, really, and trying to figure it out. I went to the clinical training in 2005 and realized I had done a lot very incorrectly. So I went back to work, and then I think just really became more and more passionate about it as I learned. And so in 2008, my former our head of school, her name is Margaret Necker. She's since passed away and just is one of the greatest women I'll ever know. And so she encouraged me to just really start a program around this at the Parish School. So it was called the Social Learning Program, still exists today. I still mentor the therapists that are running that program now, and just really jumped in. And our main goal was to integrate the social thinking methodology and other social learning curriculums into the school directly. So we were training the teachers and the speech pathologist, going in and figuring out how to get it embedded into the curriculum. We were bringing in lessons to teach in the curriculum. And through that experience, I just think we were talking about what else could we do to really provide this immersive experience. And so that's where the camp idea really came from.
Yeah, that's so fascinating. And it's interesting because I can really relate to you on the social thinking piece because I remember the social thinking curriculum indirectly was brought to me through a
Mhm.
specialized program here in New York City when I was a second year speech language pathologist. And I remember immediately just being transformed in terms of the
Yeah.
way that I viewed social because in graduate school, that's not the way you necessarily learn about
Right.
social. So it was just as eye opening for me, I think, as it was for you. Of course, I didn't take it as far as you in terms of, eventually,
We're
founding this
quite
whole
as obsessed, perhaps.
yes, similar obsession level, but not as ambitious in the sense of founding the actual social learning program in the Episcopal,
Yeah.
not Episcopal, the
At
parish.
Parish
I,
School.
I
Yeah.
always right the parish school. Yeah, I need to get my cultural bearings down.
Well, it's constant confusion because of the word parish. Yeah.
Yes,
It's
exactly.
actually
It throws
named
people off,
after
especially in New
Robin.
York City.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
New
named
York
after a
City.
lady named Robin Parish. So that
Yeah, 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 and in New York City, of course, we sometimes just are so like narrow-minded in our outlook on things that we
yeah.
forget that there's like a whole world out there besides words that sound similar.
Yeah.
But yeah, but so that's so fascinating. So you have this whole social learning curriculum going.
Mhm.
You're training so many people in it, so it goes from a passion to training all these different
Yeah.
people. People are, it sounds like, responding very well to you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, people got really excited about it. Now, there's some that maybe it wasn't resonating quite as strongly for them, but I'm really proud to say that, whatever years later, I don't want to count, but it's still going strong at the Parish School. I'm actually coming back this year to train their elementary teachers again, really work with them on embedding it into the curriculum. So, Parish School still really adopts the social thinking curriculum. They still work really hard. I'm sorry, the methodology. They work really hard to bring in the vocab and to really follow it closely as they bring in all the other programs, of course, they're working with as well.
So, yeah, and so this is part of you founded that social learning program, but there's also a
Yes,
separate thing that you're doing, which is working as part of the social thinking right?
yes,
Collaborative. So
yes,
you also train on that end also, right?
yes.
You're just
I
always
yeah, I
doing
don't
something.
Yeah, I don't run the social learning program anymore. I founded it and I left it in 2017 because I became really passionate about adults because I realized that after all the great therapy we've done and all the work we've done, there's still this really huge challenge existing as they walk into adulthood. So I actually left for about 5 years and did that. So I still consult and I still help. But yes, in 2000, let's see, probably 2011, Michelle and Pam reached out and really started looking for speakers. And so, of course, I jumped. because what a dream. And
Yeah.
so applied for that job and was very blessed to get that job in 2012. And so, along with, I think, nine other, mostly women, we have really, created this journey where we've trained together and learned together and gotten to learn from the great Michelle Garcia Winner. And so, I've gotten to speak all over North America, and man, it's been probably the biggest honor of my life, I would say. I might cry actually thinking
Oh,
about it,
no.
but
But good tears.
just the amount of learning I've gotten to do through Michelle. She is just a trailblazer, so innovative and constantly adapting. Yeah, so I've really gotten to do that job, and really I do that one on the side, I would say. And then right now I mainly run my private practice.
Yeah. So it's so interesting. So you fell in love with this and then become a speaker for this
Mhm.
social collaborative with under Michelle Garcia Winner, a dream come
Yeah,
true. Because of course, if you know Michelle Garcia Winner, she definitely is a powerhouse. I mean, she's
she's
someone,
wonderful.
like you
Yeah.
said, always adapting. There's always new information coming out. And like you
Mhm.
said, it's also about the adults more now than it ever has been before because more adults are coming out or have received this late diagnosis, right? I'm observing more and more and
Right.
want to get the help or a spouse is sending them to get the help, whichever way, it
Yeah.
works. And then it's interesting because you're focusing on the adults while simultaneously also running this amazing social camp. It's called Camp Social, right?
Yeah.
And it's a 6 day, I believe, right? 6 days
6 day,
of
5 night
intense,
camp.
right, social learning while also being immersed in a natural environment of interacting with peers, right? And all these different
Yeah.
things. So can you tell us more about this type of camp because it's not a traditional summer camp at all.
No.
It leans into all things social, and it's specifically, I believe, designed for individuals that are working on their social
Yes.
communication.
Yes.
So, how
Right.
did this come about, and what does like a day look like at this camp?
Okay. So I would say it really came about after I had started my social learning program. I had always wanted to start a camp. I grew up going to camps. Parish School's whole campus is built after a camp because our founder found the most joy at summer camp. So I was running my program, and a lot of my clients were trying to go to other camps and they were not successful. Either they were bullied, either they couldn't fit in and find friends. Either the staff, who were mostly college students, could not really support them at the camp. They weren't trained to do so. And so we really were talking about it. The head of school, Margaret, and I were really tossing around ideas. And I had a premature baby in, I
Oh,
think,
wow.
like 2000, it was 2009 because that's his birthday. And I went on maternity leave for this baby who had been born about 7 weeks premature. And I'm off work and I'm preparing to go back the next year. And Margaret called me and said, I did it. And I was like, what did you do? I'm about to go back to work in a month. Like, what are you talking about? And she said, well, I got you a camp. And I was like,
Oh,
holy cow, like I'm on maternity leave. And
right.
so that year we hosted the very first Camp Social. Back then it was called Camp Social Superheroes. And I learned a whole lot in 1 year. And then the next year I pretty much revamped it, changed the model, did a lot of things differently. And from that point on, we've had many right now our max is around 70 campers that are both elementary and teens. Through the years, I actually had started 2 different camps because our original one was at elementary. And then we went ahead and began a teen camp for our campers that had aged out of the previous camp. And then in, I don't know what year, about 3 years ago, we combined them. So now we serve 8-year-olds through about 16-year-olds in this camp. And it's just the joy of my life. It is so much fun. And it's very much both a social cognitive camp and a traditional camp. So we offer a traditional camp experience. So they have arts and crafts and horseback riding and canoes and swimming every day and archery and, anything, ropes courses, like couple of very scary ropes courses. And so they get this very traditional experience, sleeping in cabins, etc. But our staff are highly trained. So they're all pretty much, we have college students that are interested, but we have adults leading the cabins who are regular ed, special ed educators. we have speech pathologists, we have social workers, we have all kinds of people coming and really working this camp to support these campers as they go through the week. And we offer daily social groups. So each camper participates in a social group. We have some of my staff teaches the younger ones. I and my assistant director usually teach the teen social groups. And I write the curriculum every year based on usually social thinking curriculum. I pull in a few other things. And they learn the curriculum, and then our staff is really trained to facilitate during the day the
Hmm.
social thinking vocabulary. Plus, then I'm really sort of meeting students where they're at and working on the goals they came to camp with. So, whether it's just following the group plan, and kind of staying with the group throughout the day, whether it's figuring out how to get people to interact with them the way they would like, whether it is making a friend. We don't really impose the goals for them. We just really follow what their goals are and facilitate that as they go throughout their day.
Yeah, it's so interesting because I think about, first of all, that there aren't many camps like this that I know
Yeah.
about in this country.
Mhm.
You are the only one that I know of so far in terms of having this very specifically designed
Yeah.
with very hands on, boots on the ground, specially trained individuals while the kids are going through a traditional camp experience, which is
Right.
so fascinating because they could still go and do those things that I'm scared of, like, with heights and everything. I mean,
Yes.
summer camp could be
The
fun, but
zip
like certain parts, yeah, flying through the trapeze. But no, but and so and to me it's also interesting because you're also incorporating so many authentic interactions between
right.
everybody because these are the interactions that they're going to be doing if they're going to be having fun, where they're going to be with other people
Mhm.
if they want to go to camp or even not in camp, even after school. A lot of these
Yeah.
children are doing
It's
things like
functional
this.
experiences. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Very functional experiences, which also that in and of itself is a learning experience
Yeah.
without, but then you add this other piece, which is like, and you're also going to have social training. You're also going to have people who are looking after you to
Mhm.
think about where you're at. And you mentioned something that is so important and it comes up and up again, which is, okay, so it's people would ask who are listening, well, it's 8 to 16 years old, but that's a big,
Yeah.
range. And my first thought is no, it's not because I fellow SLP, social thinking,
Yes.
social communication. People, like you said, need to be met where they're at, right? So
Mhm.
the goal has nothing to do with the age specifically. Of course, we have milestones that we think about where the
Yeah.
child should be, but a child who's 8 years old may need a similar type of support that as a 16-year-old in a specific
Yeah.
type of social area.
Mhm.
So it's interesting because I feel like the two can be merged nicely. Uh,
They can. The one thing I'll say is that we also are very considerate of the different, how shall I say this, the different age sort of based interest
yeah,
and the age based knowledge that they might have. So we do separate them, and they're closely supervised. We do not let 8-year-olds go into the same activity as a 16-year-old, obviously. But
yeah,
yes, I mean, we find that some of our, especially I would say that age between 12 and 13, many of them are better served by some of what we're doing in the part of the camp. And so we just really try to, again, individualize it as much as possible and sort of meet them wherever they came to camp at,
yeah.
and be willing to sort of lean into them and support them there.
Yeah. Um, yeah, that sounds really cool, actually, like a
Yeah,
really cool camp experience where
it's
you get to experience
wonderful.
everything, but also we're working on your social communication in ways that are probably hidden from them. I
Mhm.
mean, they may recognize, oh, wait, I think I do this in
Yeah,
my social group or what not, but it seems a little bit more hidden in the sense that they're engaging in a regular camp experience. So it's pretty
yeah.
cool. And so I just think about the neurodivergent teens and tweens that I work with, specifically with autism
Mhm.
and AuDHD, which in my mind goes hand in hand so much more often than not. And a
Mhm.
lot of them do have a fear of, these group settings. And then you put them in a camp for 6 days in a row and they can't get away, right? They're stuck, because, typically during the school year, they could just go to school and
Yes.
go to their social groups if they're assigned to them. Sometimes they're a little resistant to them, sometimes they're more invested. And then the day's over and then they go home, right? And so
Yeah.
they're used to that. Or they, some parents will, actively enroll them in social groups after school. But for
Mhm.
the most part, they can separate themselves. I even
It's
had a nest
great.
student
Yeah.
in the program I worked at, more than one, a bunch of them that worked that during COVID, I was working in this program
Mhm.
and specialized program for individuals with autism that had the social communication needs. And some of them just loved being remote because they just could just at a distance see
Yes,
ya and say
yes.
hello. So my question is, how do you create an environment where these kids show up, these teens,
Yeah.
these kids, and not want to run away when they realize, oh no, I'm gonna have to be kind of social or at least
For
pretend to
a
be
long
social
time,
all
yes.
day and night? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of factors that go into that. Number one is we have a very extensive admission process. So every student or every camper that comes through is given the social thinking dynamic assessment. I personally do that. And
Oh, cool.
so, number one, they've all met me before they go. And I talk to them a lot about, like, I know you now. I have a lot of knowledge about you based on our consult, and I want to make sure that you have a friendly face. So that's first, always. And because of the detailed admissions process we're doing or the consult, we really are looking for similar social minds. So I want to make sure that if you go to camp, I have a really great idea of who's going to be similar to you in the way you understand the social world and the way you process the social world and the way that you share space. And so I'm going to make sure there's people like that in your cabin so that you have like-minded peers, hopefully, if at all possible. The other thing is there's another element past that. So they usually know me going in or other people because they're familiar. They've been in one of my groups, whatever. But then also our counselors are a huge part of our success. Our counselors think this is the best week of their life. I mean, they are
Wow.
taking vacation time to come. We have two guys who work at a major finance company who this is their vacation time. And our campers act like they're currently at camp and they're having the best time of their lives, which is such a great model. And our campers often remark on how hilarious it is and how funny they are. And so that obviously loosens things up a bit. But also, I think we are called challenge by choice for a reason. I'm not going to require you to do ropes, for instance, if you don't want to. I'm like, you challenge yourself to a point where it feels comfortable. If you want to bring your Lego book and sit there and read that instead, fine, whatever. Now, we don't offer a ton of other choices, so you're just going to hang out and kind of be bored. So I think those are some big factors. And then also, there's this magical thing that's happening every year, and it blows my mind. And I think I might be most proud of this one that we have multi-year campers. We often have a
Mm.
camper come at 8, and they graduate from our camp at 16 or 17. Often they come back as volunteers. A few have actually talked themselves into jobs with me, and I'm now hiring a few of them.
Oh my gosh.
So it is a very long sort of relationship. And what I find is a lot of those sort of veteran campers are talking up the younger ones. They're like encouraging them. And then, because we're not really pushing friendship, we're just there to figure out what are your social goals? What do you want to happen? And I will make a remark about your previous comment. The cool part is we don't even have to keep this hidden. We tell them, I ask them from the beginning, hey, what are your social goals? What are you willing to work on? And almost every camper that comes to our camp says something along the lines of, I don't belong anywhere. No one really sees me. Like, I want to make friends. I want to have a good conversation. I just want to hang out. A
Yeah.
lot of them have these really strong goals, but they don't know how to meet them. And so they're walking into camp and we're just sort of having a whole lot of fun. Like, we are relaxed. We're trying to come up with fun activities that get them sort of having fun as well. And then what we have found, and this is the magical part, we have very long standing friendships in our teens that have developed from this camp. I can think of two groups, especially one is a teen girls group and then one is a teen guys group. And they started when they were young and they hang out and they have group chats. And it really, and these, especially I would say the teen girls are the ones that really could not make friendships in their schools. And
Hmm.
so they have this like amazing friendship that goes outside of camp. And so we just have found that through some of those factors, it's really worked well. And if we see someone not connecting, we just try to lean into them and create a fun relationship where we're getting to know them and sort of just, showing up and having fun with them. So,
Yeah, so it's not hidden. They know that they're there because they actually do know that they're self-aware that they want to do
yeah.
this. They want to
And
be
most
around
of the
people. Yeah.
teens are very like vocal about what they want to work on, which we love.
So they're advocating already. I
Mhm.
mean, which we love. The teens and tweens are advocating. They've already
Yeah,
established that part of themselves. And so they've come there with the idea that, yes, they're going to be here and
yeah,
hopefully make friends. And it seems like it works out. They do come out with friends,
mostly,
even
yeah.
if some of them didn't have friends before, even though, like you said, the goal isn't friendship, but then indirectly, obviously,
Yeah.
shared interests, they're doing things for fun. And suddenly,
Mhm,
like
mhm.
you said, they come back and it's like the same group. They have a girl. And I love how a girls group is formed because I know in my experiences it's been so hard for the girls. And again, I don't want to take away from the boys because the boys are
Yeah,
experiencing other challenges. But I just know that from my experiences in working with this population, the girls are so hungry for that friendship and sometimes just turn to the wrong people because again, they just feel so vulnerable and girls just they just act so differently just as neurodivergent individuals, but just as women being a little bit more vulnerable. And at
right.
that age, especially the teen and tween age, I find it's just so easy when you're so vulnerable to just lean into anybody who will talk to you, even
Yeah,
if it's somebody who's going to take advantage of you. So it's just so nice to hear that the group of girls is forming because that's something that's so important and so
yeah.
critical. I'm so curious how this translates afterwards in terms of they come back again, which is great.
Mhm.
Um, Now, like, after they finish the camp, so if somebody was thinking about going to this camp, or hopefully new camps will pop up because hopefully it sounds like you stop at nothing and you just keep going. So who knows, you'll open up more, maybe you'll open up one here, upstate New York.
Maybe.
How do you see it translating into, like, let's say the school year? Do you see that they take some of these skills into the school year and start being more social with others and like
Mhm.
in specific ways?
Yeah, I mean, I think every person that comes to our camp, every camper is very different. So it really depends on where they started. Certainly, I do get feedback from parents that they have walked out of camp and maybe initiated more, maybe began talking a bit more to people around them. I actually hear a lot more about the independence of camp, like their
Mm-hmm.
confidence has gone up, they become more independent with their self living, self help abilities. There's a lot of just independence that comes from sleepaway camp. But yes, so I definitely hear a lot of them are my clients. Some of them I've never met before, but I do see that there is definitely this sort of confidence and they've gotten some strategies to use. So certainly we do see that. I can't say every camper. What I find is the more years you come, the more years you come, the more likely that is. Because
Yeah.
I'm watching it happen and I'm hearing it in their own lives. They give a graduation sort of speech at the end in a private ceremony, and that is so special to hear of the impact camp has had. And I have adults I'm working with who are still talking about camp being one of the most special times of their life. So I do think it's making a difference, but certainly it really depends on what they walked in with. Some
Yeah.
students, it's just they learned how to follow group plans for a lot of time every single day, and maybe they're walking back into school a bit better able to hang in that group plan. That's awesome. So we don't really look for certain markers of success. We're just looking for, did you walk out of camp with strategies and was there some growth in whatever area you're working on? And so I think by and large, we do get to see that. And it's pretty amazing to get to know that.
Yeah, that's really great. And I'm just thinking out loud how these individuals coming in, they're learning, like you said, independence, which that in
Mhm.
of itself could give them more confidence because this might be their first, probably likely, if it's their first year in your camp,
Yeah,
their first time being completely on their own away from their families.
right.
And people always speak about this transition period when kids go from, let's say, high school to college, right?
Yeah.
And how hard it is. And they've never even experienced anything remotely similar, but then they go away to college and then there's all
Mhm.
these executive functioning challenges and all
Right,
these other things that just in general just many school systems just don't prepare you for. And so I
right.
think about this camp and how being in a camp at least just for 6 intense days can give you at least
Yeah,
a taste of what's to come in the future of independence, but it also
right.
sounds like they have an opportunity for interdependence, which is something that somebody on my
Mhm.
podcast mentioned, how interdependence is also really important because now they're also learning the skill of, wait, I don't have a teacher around, I don't have a parent
Right.
around, what do I do now, right? So do they have to acclimate to that procedure as well of, wait, I'm going to advocate for myself, but wait, there's a whole new set of people here that I have to figure out what I'm doing with, like,
Yeah.
who am I supposed to go to, what am I supposed to ask?
Right. Yeah. I mean, we do talk about it certainly in the consult, but yeah, I think there's a bit what we love to watch is we'll talk a lot about, not only read the room, but watch and observe what other people are doing and ask for help. If you don't know how to do something, turn to a peer as much as you turn to your counselor. And so that's been really neat to watch. But But I think when you're spending all day, like 12 to 13 hours from 7 a.m. to about 9:30 p.m. when they're about to go to sleep with the same cabin group, you tend to start to rely on the people around you. And, the independence piece is huge. We have kids who've never washed their own hair walking into camp. We have, really campers who walk into the shower and don't know to bring their shampoo and their clothes. And so just having those moments to go, okay, before you go to the shower, what do you think you're going to need? What do you think you need to clean your body, to clean your hair, to come out dressed because we don't want you to come out without your clothes. And so just that process alone is really allowing them to practice this in a very organic, non-pressure sort of way, unless everyone's ready to go to bed and you're the last shower and then there's a little
Hmm.
pressure. But we just kind of are like, yeah, what do you need right now? And so it's just like constant teachable moments always. And we don't see it as behavioral problems if a student's struggling with that. We really see it as like, what's your lagging social competency? And so we show up in this very calm, like non-judgmental, what do you need? What's going on? And
Hmm.
so we just find that kids like, who maybe are highly anxious kind of practice some things and sort of see that there's not a lot of failure at camp because, we'll figure it out and we'll help you figure it out. So it's a pretty neat learning experience.
Yeah, that's great that they don't feel like they're failing at anything. Like you said,
Yeah.
it's just a moment where, okay, you just need a little support, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that you're failing at it, which so many of these individuals that I've worked with, and I'm sure you've worked with, and
Mhm.
maybe before they've even come to the camp, feel like they're just failing at every interaction and they're
Right.
failing at trying to do a certain thing because they don't know what they need, like the
Yeah.
shower, right? Obviously, we don't want anybody walking out of the shower without their clothes on.
No,
That would not make for a, I
not
mean,
great.
yeah, not a good summer camp story. But again, it's kind of forcing all of you, right, collaboratively to work
Mhm.
together. When normally we just don't spend the evenings overnight with any
Right.
of these individuals. We kind of send them on their way, just like with any speech and
Yeah.
language
Yeah.
student, or any student in general. They go on their merry way. And sometimes I think, wow, we're sending them on their way and we're giving them only a limited amount of support during the week, which we
Mhm.
hope can transfer over to the real setting. These 6 days are the real setting, I suppose,
Very
right?
much. Very
Every
much.
part of their life is really a part of the camp.
Right. Right.
Is there anything from this camp that you feel like, wow, like any aha moments that you had where you said, wow, like maybe this is something that could be introduced into the curriculum in school when they go back to school, just in
Mhm.
general? Maybe schools can use this and really hone in on social in this specific way because, wow, look at what's going on
Yeah.
here.
For sure. I would say, of course, as part of my social thinking job, I am going into schools and training. So I would say a lot of the curriculum I've written from camp or a lot of the experiences I've had at camp have informed to that greatly. I would say, about halfway through my camp experience, I went to work for the adult program. And I really started watching just the life skills that we sort of assume kids will get, like preparing a meal, cleaning up after yourself, knowing how to shower, knowing how to clean up your bunk, how to keep your clothes in a bag, like and organize your clothes. Like there are things that we just take for granted, I think, as professionals that we watch at camp. I mean, we watch that they cannot figure out how to keep their belongings in an area. We watch how they can't find anything, they don't sleep well. Like you really get to see sort of their life. And so one of the things I probably have gone back, a couple of things. One of them is how important them being able to complete their daily living task and routines are to their self-esteem and their confidence and their ability to live independently. So I talk about that a lot. I train that. And then I would tell you the other one that I really learned from camp to the adult program is if you are not well regulated, if you cannot calm down from a meltdown, fairly quickly, if you cannot remain in the group at all, like it's a very, very, very important ability to move on through high school, through college, and through your adulthood experience, whatever that looks like. And so I do stress a lot more just being able to calm yourself, being able to find strategies that are helpful for you, being able to express your emotions and figure out that process because that will in many ways determine your job situation one day. It will determine your ability to live independently. So we think that is very, very important in camp. And so we obviously work on the admission process for that piece. And then we really teach that at camp. yeah, we know you're upset, but what's your strategy right now? We get it. I mean, and we validate it and we're empathetic toward it, but we're like, so, but man, like we're about to go to whatever ropes course. And I know that's really important to you. So what strategy do you need right now to be able to regulate so that you can join? So there's no punitive at all. It's just like, dude, what do you need right now in this very moment to help you be able to rejoin the group? And so it's very, it's beautiful in some ways, but it's also very important. And so I think that I teach that a lot more now and really, really work on that ability to regulate your outward emotions, the way you show your emotions
Yeah.
and your problem solving ability.
Yeah, I mean, it's so interesting because regulation, I also always believed was such a big factor in all of this. And like you spoke earlier about behaviors, and you don't like to
Mhm.
view them as negative behaviors or behaviors in
Yeah,
general. They're happening for a reason, right? It
right.
might be just a
Always.
way to calm oneself down. And when one isn't regulated, it's so hard, like you said, to move on to the next activity, which is
Right.
required in camp. So it's almost like a 6-day boot camp and trying to figure out, oh gosh, I have to go to the next thing. What do I do? I got to figure this out. I got to regulate,
Yeah.
not in a punitive way, but it's almost forcing you to find a way to regulate, whereas maybe normally you wouldn't necessarily need to and live and in the moment because you're not rushing to the next activity to make it there. But and with school it's different because sometimes, you just have those times where you walk, you go for a walk, you take a break in the hallway and things like that. But yeah, regulation, I feel like over the years I've learned also is really so critical for everything that's social because if you can't stay regulated,
Yeah.
then it's going to be really hard to even interact with people or keep an interaction going. And so it sounds like that's one piece that you focus in on more. But then you also mentioned something about how like now working with your adults, you're also honed in on these everyday life skills that sometimes like we just don't think about because we just think about we're working with the individual, this neurodivergent teen and tween, and we're working, let's say, during the day with them. So we're thinking about the skills that they need, let's say,
Mhm.
day to day, but not necessarily all those skills that are like these functional daily life skills, activities of daily living, even if they're competent in taking a shower. Well, if all the water goes out of the bathtub, right?
Yeah.
I mean, not that I haven't done that before,
Right.
but that could be a problem
Or if
too.
there's shampoo in their hair when they go to
Yeah.
an interview, it becomes big.
Yeah. But I think again, I don't know if you feel the same way, but it almost feels like sometimes there are certain compensatory strategies that some of the individuals have developed that sometimes I have been guilty of this, of not even realizing, wow, this activity of daily living is really hard because it seems like, well, they got the job done, right? But if there's
Mhm.
shampoo in the hair, obviously the job isn't really completely done, right? But it
Right.
seems like unless you look and observe closely,
Mhm.
I've always felt like sometimes you can miss the mark because they've developed these strategies. So
Yeah.
it looks like it's been done. Task has been completed.
Well, and I also think we look at them and they have language, especially a certain group, if they have pretty average language skills and we have described them or other people describe them as bright, we often don't realize how hard these things are for them. And so, just through my camp experience and through the adulthood experience, I've realized you really have to ask some questions about that and really dig into how that goes. So for sure. And I wanted to make a comment earlier on regulation. One of the things we also find at camp that I think is really interesting, just spending all day outdoors hurts
Mm.
a lot of these. It's pretty interesting to watch that when you are outdoors, how well you do on regulation because you're not in front of a screen, you're outdoors, you're outside a lot. And so that alone is pretty calming itself. So that's really neat. And that's translated quite a bit to my other parts of my practice.
Where you take people outside more now?
Yes, yes. We
Yeah.
have a park right outside of my office, so I
Oh,
try to add that in because I think just being outside or encouraging parents like, "Hey, I know they have this and this and this and this on their schedule. We have to have time just to let them have free play outside at some point in their
yeah.
day because it is calming, it helps them regulate." And so that's another piece too of just, things I've realized through the years.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that because I just literally the other day had a conversation with an occupational therapist who had commented on this from the regulation standpoint because, of course,
Yeah.
OTs work on sensory regulation too. And he had mentioned that, like, some schools, like, lately these days just don't provide so much outside
Yeah.
time or even breaks or recess. It's really just
Oh,
focused
that's
on the
true.
academics. Less than back in the day, there was a lot more playtime, a lot of more downtime, and now there's so much pressure, I guess,
Yeah.
on academics and making sure that everything is done throughout the day that kids barely have recess. at certain points. You know,
Very
the
little.
cafeteria
Even
might
my
be the
own
only
child.
time.
Yeah,
What?
even my own child, I think, had one 20-minute recess a day. It was
Wow.
terrible. But I will say, this is a quick plug, but the parish school, one things I love is we are very, very strong in outdoor learning. So we have outdoor learning classrooms, and
Oh,
it's just such a neat thing. So go observe parish if you ever get a chance.
Parish in Houston, where you are.
Parish school, yep.
The one and only, the Parish School. Not
Yes.
to be confused
They
with the
do a
parish
really
of any
nice
of.
job of outdoor learning.
Yeah, and studies have shown, I mean, I think that that being in nature in general can actually curb a lot of anxiety,
Yes,
can
very
actually
much.
make you regulated, can make you feel more comfortable and at ease. And
Mhm.
I myself, because I live in the urban concrete jungle of New York City, and I know that when I'm in nature, whether it's upstate or just an
Mhm.
area with where it's green and you could smell the air and less
Yes.
polluted air, I know that I definitely am in a better, safer,
Right.
regulated, more regulated space. So
Yes, yes,
I
and
could
it
definitely see
cements
that.
learning in a lot of ways. It does calm anxiety and grow your confidence and your ability to problem solve. I mean, there's just so much that you get from being outdoors. So, yeah, so that's
Yeah.
another awesome benefit of camp, I think.
Yeah, so circling back to the parish school, so you've spent so much time there, right? And
Mhm.
there were so many things that you have done there. And so this school still focuses on the social learning. So it's a
Yes.
social learning school where students,
No, it's not
no.
a social learning school. It's for communication delays and learning differences. So I would say it's a language based learning school in many ways. And so certainly social learning is a very big part of their curriculum and methodology and culture, as is like teaching the social and emotional learning is a big part of that. They do a really great job. The whole child is really focused on in that school, whether it's embedded occupational therapy, whether it's music therapy that's a part of their day. Every student participates in like drama, for instance. They have a lot of outdoor classrooms. They actually have a whole period of their day, which is called nature. So they just
Oh,
spend it outdoors. And speech pathologists in the elementary are pushed into the classroom. In the early childhood, speech pathologists are actually still the teachers. So it's this very unique learning environment, very multidisciplinary or interdisciplinary, I would say, and just the neatest, I think, learning environment for neurodiverse students that I've ever seen, at least.
yeah. I mean, it sounds fantastic. Also incorporating nature, but also focusing not just on language and communication disorders, but also fostering the social and emotional, which
Yes,
is so, I mean, important for any of our individuals, especially
right.
now since the pandemic. I feel like a lot of the
Yeah,
social emotional pieces in general have been lacking for all of us,
very
really.
much.
And I think that we need to do a better job at helping our
Yeah.
children and our teens and our tweens. And I know that you're still doing the trainings with the social
Yes.
collaborative with the social thinking.
Yes.
So I don't know if you can let me know, but like, so what has been your favorite place to visit in North
Oh
America?
gosh, I would have to really think about this one. I think my favorite thing was traveling. I mean, getting to speak to all these different places and train and meet all these people has been probably one of the most amazing experiences of my life. But then getting to visit all the different places I've gone, probably my favorite was getting to visit Canada and getting to see specifically Edmonton and Calgary. That was just a
Oh,
place I would have probably not thought to go before. But I've also really enjoyed, and I don't know if the rest of Collaborative would agree with this. I love just the little small towns I get to visit and the little communities and getting to see their school district and getting to learn how it's going for them to serve these clients and these students that we get to serve. And so I don't know if I have a favorite. I just really like to see that particular community and understand the challenges they're facing.
it's so interesting because I'm the same way in the sense of I love the small towns too in terms of travel. I love just getting down to like to really
Yeah.
see culture because that's really where you see the culture coming out. It's harder to
Right.
see it in a larger environment. I've never been to you said Edmonton,
Yeah.
Alberta, right? Yeah, but I hear it gets really cold there in the winter.
Oh, it was very cold. Like, it was, like, minus I think it was I don't remember. I went there to visit the first time years ago, and I think it was literally, like, 0 when I showed up in
Oh
my
wow.
I'm from Houston, Texas, so that was
Oh,
a
that's not easy.
shocking.
Although it gets cold at Houston too, but not like in that
No, like,
capacity at all.
we think we're dying if it's 60. I mean, we pull
Yeah.
out our coats.
Yeah, and now it's wintertime while we're recording. Well, it's fall technically, but it feels like winter here in New York City because it's now 30 degrees in 30s Fahrenheit. So for us, it's like, oh, winter's coming,
Yeah,
and you
I
guys are
think
like,
it's
oh,
almost 90 in Houston right now, so
oh
we
my
haven't
goodness, 90
bring a
Fahrenheit?
sweater, though.
Wow, that is amazing. I didn't realize because I know that sometimes, you guys have some of the snowstorms, ice storms, but
Mhm.
that happens just every so often. It's not really
Very
consistent.
seldom.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, so it seems like you're doing so much between the camp, between the social collab, the social learning. You still have some involvement with the parish
Yes.
and a big involvement, actually, just in terms
I
of,
still consult and then run the camp, and then I have
yeah.
my private practice that takes up probably the bulk of my time.
And then you're also somehow managing a Brady Bunch family with a couple of dogs and bonus
All the
children,
things. Yes.
and you're doing it all. But where can people really reach you, follow you, see all the work that you're doing?
I will say I really should do a better job on social media. I have my own just one page. I would say just to reach out and email me at renee.attaway@gmail.com. You can follow me. I'm Renee Attaway Storer on Instagram if you would like. And then for the camp, I would say if you're interested, I'm happy to reach out to me and I'm happy to talk you through the camp. We do have an admission criteria for our camp just because of our ratios, which are 3-to-1, which are wonderful, but not as low as they could be for certain groups of the population that would benefit. They're probably not, it's not great for every kid or every teenager, but so you certainly can reach out through the Parish Schools page and it's under the summer camps. It's called Camp Social. So that's my camp that I run every July. And otherwise, I am on the Social Thinking website. If you'd like to book a speaker, let me know. But in one of my jobs, I'm sure you can find me in one way or the other. So
Yeah, I mean, thank you so much for giving your time on this evening here. It's dark here. It's light there. Well,
yeah,
actually, we're still not in such a different time
yeah,
zone, but it's just dark here. But basically, just thank you so much for the time, but also thank you for like sharing such a novel concept that's really
yeah,
still very novel of where there's an actual social camp where people can go and work on their communication, work on their
right,
social communication in a safe space with others that are similar to them. So it seems like, okay, they're
yeah,
taking risks, but others are taking the same social risks and being very supported in this multidisciplinary environment. I think, it's just very rare to come across that. So I feel
yeah.
like the work that you're doing is so great there while you're
Thank
still
you.
somehow managing to also consult with the
I don't know.
parish school and help all these individuals with social and
Yeah,
communication needs and language-based needs and then while
and
also
run my private
teaching
practice.
and
And
your
I
private
see,
practice
so I
with
see
adults.
4-year-olds through adults in my private
Right.
practice, and that's
Yeah.
a whole beast on its own. So
Yeah, and
it's
while
fun.
training others, and so I'm and for all those who are listening to this episode, I think there's a lot you can get out of it in terms of, first of all, there are so many different ways to go about social, and having
Yeah,
a camp environment is so wonderful because it's a way to really jumpstart the experience of being more
very
independent
much.
and jumpstart also initiating friendships and making lifelong friendships because everybody's always said they've made lifelong friends in summer camp
Yeah,
and it's a quick camp. So I just hope that you can replicate this because it seems like it's something that can really help so many in so many other places. Of course, that takes time, but
yeah.
who knows? Maybe
We'll
soon.
see.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But thanks again for your time and for
of
sharing all the
course. Well, thank
social
you for
tidbits.
inviting me.
My pleasure. All right. Uh, Thanks for joining us on Unmasking Social, where we neurodiverse advocates and those who support them explore how real friendship begins when we start showing up as ourselves. If today's episode resonated with you, please share it with a friend, leave a review, or follow me for more conversations that provide information on neurodivergent ways of thinking, communicating, and connecting. Until next time, keep staying social.